Hello, this is Jim Hackridge giving his final presentation for the Education Class 5013. This presentation is due 30th July 2019. This presentation has the 6 papers I presented in the class. It does not include the scenarios. My first paper was a mission statement. All right, this is basically what I should do as a teacher. Now, my vision, when I wrote this, I was thinking I would get a job working as a mathematics teacher. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. So if I was to do this today, I would just change it to general principles. Okay. I believe in a safe environment and so forth. Okay? Now, classroom rules. I sort of made this general because, to be honest with you, without having my own class at the moment, I have to do whatever the school tells me as a substitute. Now, consequences. This was the third paper I wrote. Basically, I went over the classroom rules and talked about what I would do if the kids didn't obey them. Now, like I say here, some of the consequences I have very little control over. For example, one school I work at has D-Hall slips. If a student gets 5 slips, he automatically gets 1 day of ISS class. The problem is they count the slips for the whole school. I could actually give a student 1, and he ends up then with enough to go to the ISS the next day. In general, I would the first consequence on a rule, breaking a rule, would be me explaining to this child, and maybe the whole class, the rule again, and explaining the reason behind it. I've noticed a couple of times that when I go, hey, look, this is why I have the rule, the kids are more okay with it. All right. Then I would have to talk to the child after class or after school, the next level, and find out if there's a problem. Like I said on, let's see, rule number 1, being in your seat when class starts. My wife pointed out that if the kid is at the far end of the school and is coming to my class, he may not be able to do it in 4 minutes. And I was quite surprised when I started working here as a sub. When I was in school back in the 60s and 70s, I believe we had something like 10 minutes between periods. Anyway. Now, here we go. I went through this consequences and explained, like, for instance, rule number 2 is about not sharpening your pencils during class. I subbed in ISS for a week, and these kids would take their pencils. I actually watched one physically break the ends of their pencils off, the tips, and then go up and sharpen them again. Well, that's not going to happen in my class. It's that simple. Rule number 3, no eating or drinking in the class, obviously. Bathroom, restroom, one at a time. Okay, I the first few weeks I was in class, I subbed here. I lost half a class once because, hey, everybody took off when they go, hey, I won't go to the toilet. Yeah. Cell phones. Um, they say no use of cell phones, got to be turned off, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. The problem is the kids will put them in their pockets, in their blue jeans, whatever, and they'll slip them out and use them when I'm not looking. So my rule is not only must they be turned off and so forth, they have to put them in their backpacks. Protocols. These are things that I want the kids to do in class or at the start of class, whatever. The problem on this for me, again, is, hey, I am a substitute. And the protocols, procedures, are already set by the teacher that I'm subbing for. And, for instance, this ideal of having all the kids line up outside and I let them in as they get quiet. Now, some teachers don't do that. And getting to work immediately, I would love to get this to work. I would have this in my own class. Again, cell phones must be put in their backpack or bag as they come into the room. One person at a time to the bathroom. Into class. I dismiss class, not the bell. A couple of minutes before the end of class, all the chairs, desks, tables are put away. You pick up the trash. Don't care who put it down there, you pick it up. Contract. I'm going to be honest, don't like contracts. I studied law before I switched to computers, and a contract, a real contract, is a voluntary meeting of the minds between two or more people. That's a legal definition. And when I, as a teacher, put a contract in front of a kid and say, here, sign it, that's not voluntary on his part. I prefer to call it a pledge, and here's what I pledge. Sorry about being so small here. I'll be honest and reliable. I'll communicate with the families and so forth. Okay? Then I would ask the students to pledge this. Attend school regularly, be honest and reliable, and so forth. And again, with the parents, I would also ask, show respect, support for the kids, the teachers, the school, and so forth. Now, how I would handle the pledge, the first week of school, I would have pledge day. I would explain what a pledge is. Then I'd go over what my pledge is to the students. Hey guys, this is what I'm going to do for you, right? Then I would give the kids the pledge that I write up for them. And like I said, I'd put a blank so they could write their initials next to each one, or a tick mark so you could go, yeah, check mark, whatever. And even put blank lines where they can add their own pledge. And I would accept it, anything, right? Whether they pledge something or not, even no pledge. Because, and I do the same with the parent. The thing is, with the parent, I don't know their situation. I might say, hey, please give your student, my student, 10 square feet of space for study and homework. If they got 10 kids at home, they're not going to be able to do that. So whatever they can do is fantastic as far as I'm concerned. And to me, this is much better than a contract because they own it. Right? Everybody's talking about owning something. This is it. Okay? And like I said, even if they say, I'm going to be a bad student, at least I know. Okay, last paper I wrote was about signals. Okay? I've never been in the quiet only things like libraries and that sort of thing, so I can't talk about that. But the signal I used the most in China was just stopping what I was doing, just fold my hands around in front of myself and just wait. Maybe I'd look at whoever was being the talker, but they would eventually settle down. It'd only take a minute or so. Don't work so well here in the U.S. It seems like the talkers take that as meaning it's okay to talk. I do use a clipboard a lot, having my notes and stuff on it, and when I need to get their attention, I'll take the clipboard and knock it against the table. After a few times on that, I usually get their attention. Some classes I've tried the clapping ideal, you know, having do like this, and all the kids would start clapping along with me. That seemed to work pretty good, but not so good with the older 7th and 8th graders. Now, my wife gave me an ideal. At the beginning of the semester, I'll make it clear that when I count out loud backwards, it means be quiet. I might go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on. If I get to 0, the entire class gets a D-Hall, or whatever the school does for that. Everybody, even the good students. Hey, sorry, but this is group punishment, maybe? Yeah, okay. But the good kids have to take some effort to get the bad kids to help here, to be quieter. Now, one thing I've done a lot as a sub is every class I've been in has a office buzzer, what I call the panic button. And when they get really bad talking, I would walk over to the buzzer and tell them they had 1 to 10 seconds to be quiet. Or I would call the office and have them come get some of them. Now, normally the first time they didn't believe me, so I ended up having to kick out the worst 1 or 2 of the class. Then it would work. Now, the thing is, I hate doing that, but you know, sometimes happens. One thing I found lately in Google Play Store is this buzzer like the judges use in America's Got Talent. And I can think of a few ways of using this, and I'm going to try it this fall when I have a class. It'll be like this. And that actually ends my presentation. Thank you for having this class with me, and I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much.